Yo, what is up guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology. Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus 2 years later. Now technically next month will be officially 2 years since the announcement, but still, I'm not gonna have time to do that because I'm gonna be doing the S21 content, so I want to give you my thoughts now, and they're not really going to change. So key specs that matter, if you forgot about them, we have a 6.4-inch QHD display on the front of this guy. On the rear, we do have ourselves a triple camera. This was the ultra wide introduction here for Samsung over here for the Galaxy S10 Plus. We also do have 8 gigs of RAM on board, a Snapdragon 855, and a huge 4100 milliamp hour battery in this guy. So definitely loaded up with the specifications. Okay, so let's talk about the body. Now this phone does have reverse wireless charging. It does have a very shiny glass back. Now Samsung heard the complaints about us, getting fingerprints all over this, and they're now putting textured backs on the S21 as well as on like the Galaxy Note series, and even the FE has that now. But I will say overall there's a couple scratches. I got a scratch here on this glass, and a little ding down here somewhere, like a little dimple in there, but overall I would say it held up pretty well. Now on the edge here we do have aluminum rails that are actually quite sharp. They're quite shiny as well, and because they're so thin you don't really see scratching too much on here, so I think the aluminum on the edges did hold up very well. Funny enough, this one does have a headphone jack, USB-C, and loudspeaker there, as well as a speaker up here at the top. What I really loved about this S10 Plus, and I still love to this day, is how big the screen is, but how not heavy the phone is. 6.4 inches, but the thing only weighs 175 grams. So for a larger device, it doesn't feel like a lot to carry around. And I really love that. Even the newer Samsung bigger phones are getting heavier than this. So this one, really lightweight, but still giving you a massive screen here at 6.4 inches. Now I will say I don't think the dust and water resistance was perfect on this phone, because I did get this thing wet near a pool and my camera got all kinds of water inside the housing. I actually had to take this to a phone repair shop, have them pop the back off, and they had to suck all the water out of here because I wasn't willing to risk it myself and damage the device. So I did have some professionals do that and got it cleaned up, but there was a lot of water inside that camera. But still, this thing is rated IP68 dust and water resistant. Okay guys, so let's talk about this display. This display is absolutely beautiful. Even in 2021, you're gonna be hard pressed to find a display that's better. Yeah, you can find it better on $1,000 phones, but you can pick up this S10 Plus now for in the $4s, and for the kind of resolution you're getting here, it's insane. You can see right here, if I swipe over, 1440 by 3040, that makes out for 522 display pixels per inch. That's insane. What that means is that text is going to look extremely sharp. Let's take a look at some of these articles right here. You could see Sony Xperia 10. You can see, just if you click any of these articles, everything is going to look extremely sharp. And I think that the S10 Plus does a good job of having a pretty wide display too. It doesn't feel super narrow, and the edges that curve are not super curvy. It's not like overly curved. It kind of feels almost like a flat display, but with a slight dip on the edges. It's a very beautiful experience to read on the screen even now. And also, when you are watching video, Samsung cleverly actually, let's go to one of our videos here on the channel, and we'll go ahead and cover the FE versus the iPhone 12. So you can see you won't have the punch hole camera really getting into the content, so that's pretty good. So your videos will look fine. Also, you do have the picture-in-picture mode, of course, here, but I gotta say, this display right here, fantastic. If I go over here to the settings, I go to display, you can see that we do have vivid modes and natural. And if you go here, you can change that color mode as well. Also, you can tweak it down to 1080p HD if you want more resolution. So 2 years later, it still feels like a flagship experience. It does have 60 Hertz, but it's not a big deal because there's still phones on the market that don't give you 90 Hertz, 120 Hertz. But that is an area where it doesn't feel like Samsung's best anymore. It's just that it doesn't have that higher refresh rate. But still, I mean, the overall pixels per inch, the overall color, the overall look, beautiful. I will say one thing though, they did significantly reduce this over here. The punch hole is quite a bit bigger. This kind of got like a pill punch hole right there, and it's quite a bit bigger than what you'll see on some of the newer phones. But 2 years later, this phone is still very premium to use when it comes to display. And a couple other things about that display. Of course, you have always on display, and that is customizable. You can also unlock this with the fingerprint with the display off. So if you go ahead and know where it's at, you'll be good. And if you lock it from here, you'll see the fingerprint is in display and it works very well most of the time. So when this phone came out, it came out with Android 9 Pie, but this is upgradable to Android 11, so it's still being up to date. And you can see that the Samsung experience, still what it's been for a long time, feature packed. And the Galaxy S10 Plus is no exception here. It does have, again, reverse wireless charging, Dolby Atmos. You can see all the Samsung stuff here, Samsung Kids. We do have a focus mode here. In addition, we do have Smart View DeX compatibility, so you can put this up to a monitor, run it like a computer. Again, still a powerhouse software, and when this does get the One UI 3 for my S10 Plus, this thing will be even more refined. So yes, you're still up to date. If you're thinking about buying an S10 series phone this year, I think one of the main drawbacks is the 5G. But if you really want 5G, there is the S10 5G. You can get that phone. It's like $100 more than this one, so in the fives right now. But also, you'll get 5G and all of these features. If we go to advanced features here, you'll see we have direct share, reduce animation, one-handed modes, and a true one-handed mode. You can change the gesture to a gesture bar. You can have the home buttons. If we go over here, you can do a split screen mode very easily. In addition, you can flip them around. Samsung listened there as well because they kind of took that feature out before. If we swipe over here, of course, you have your edge panels for the Samsung device. If we click here, you can kind of see all the apps that will go into kind of a split screen over here. And then you have app pairs. In addition to that, you can add more of these edge screens. You can go to the Galaxy Store, really customize it out. So there's quite a bit going on for this phone, and nothing about this feels budget at all. Even though this phone is coming down in the price, the overall hardware is not going down that much at all. The only thing is that the processors are getting faster. You're getting more RAM in the new flagship Samsung phone. You're getting a smoother screen, but you're not missing out mostly anything. Now, when it comes to performance, of course, if we run a Geekbench, we're not even going to run one because it's going to be lower than what you see on the Adreno 650 GPU and what you see with the Snapdragon 865. This, of course, is the 855 CPU right here, and it has 8 cores, so it's still very fast, but of course, it's not as fast as 865, but Microsoft launched that Duo phone where it kind of flips over into the folding phone, and they put a 855 in there, meaning that the chip is still fast. So what I got to say about this is that, yes, if you put this thing side by side with a newer smartphone with a faster chip, you will see it. But when we head up into these applications, see, watch this. Let's go into this application. Let's go into that application. Let's go into calculator. Let's go into Samsung Health. Everything just flies right open. So what's the big idea? The big idea is that there's no issue with actual day-to-day performance for the average user here, even more than the average user. Even a power user could still use this phone and be pretty suffice with it. Okay, guys, so talking about storage, the S10 Plus was capable of up to 1 terabyte of storage internal. You can get this with 12 gigs of RAM if you went with that storage of 1 terabyte, but you would probably get 8 gigs of RAM because most people went with the 128 or the 512 gig. Now, another thing about this phone is that it does have expandable memory. Now, I don't have my SD card in there right now, but you can see that it will hold that SD card if you want more storage on this phone. Now, I have 75 gigs available because for the majority of the time I was using most of the storage within that SD card. So over here you can see definitely plenty enough space to store your applications and then still have an extra slot to swap out your storage. So definitely that's a great thing for power users. Okay guys, so let's talk more about the cameras here. And I covered these extensively in the past. I'm gonna bring this Hot Wheels over in here for this test, but we do have 3 cameras here. They all have very good optics, but I will say that the main one does have the dual pixel AF. And what I really liked about this camera was I think this was one of the better Samsung cameras ever. And the reason I say that is because almost every time you point and shoot with the S10 Plus, there's no focusing issues. It just works. This was one of my favorite Samsung cameras ever because every camera, even though I don't think it was the sharpest, it was the best result on the market. It was one of the easiest for an Android phone to get that shot very nicely. So you can see I just point and shoot and look at the sharpness, look at the detail. In addition, the video was very good as well. Now this can't do 8K, but it can do 4K 60, and that does matter. It can also do 4K 60 on the front. So you have a good front-facing camera at 10 megapixels. I think this front camera doesn't seem always super consistent with the rear camera's results, but I have to say, this is still a flagship grade camera when it comes to everything you have in here. Pro modes, live focus modes. You do have Instagram mode, pro video. You can see that dot means that it's a new feature. Night modes, food modes. And food modes really does make your food look a little bit more vibrant, a little bit more saturated. You have the single take mode as well. And they added this thing where you hold down, you could take video, let off. So overall, I mean, just really very nice camera. I still think it's kind of a pro-like camera for a mobile phone, and I just don't have a major issue recommending the camera for most people buying this phone in 2021. Have a look at some of my results that I actually took, and you can see for yourself why I say this. Now, when it comes to audio, the Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus had the headphone jack, as did the S10, as did the S10e. This was one of those years where Samsung was like, okay, you guys want the headphone jack, here you go. Let's go ahead and hit the play.
For a while because it's been pretty stable, to be quite fair with you. So 2 months later, the iPhone 12 Pro actually runs a little bit better when it first came out.
Okay, so depending on the video, it will be louder or less loud, but we got about a 102.2 for that video. This can easily get over 100 decibels on that speaker, so that audio performance for this phone is still strong. And it's pretty neat how Samsung was able to get the speaker within this tiny bezel at the top. I think that's a great feat of engineering. And at the bottom here, this is of course the louder speaker of the two. It's always been the bottom speaker, so no different here. But I gotta say, if you're looking for a good audio experience, this phone definitely can provide it, and you can connect to your Samsung Galaxy Buds and rock those out as well. We must not forget that Samsung has a whole ecosystem of products that really go well with their phones. And so if you get the Galaxy Buds as well, let's go to Galaxy Wearables. You can see right here, I had them on earlier, the Galaxy Buds Plus, and I was just controlling the entire experience right here from the app. Very nice here for the Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus. So when it comes to battery life, this is an all-day phone. Even with the settings on, like the 1440p on, you can still get through the whole day with this phone. I have it in optimized mode. You can put in high performance, medium power saving, maximum power saving. There's a lot of battery tweaks you can do, but I've been on battery life all day today with this phone, and it's been pretty much fantastic. I got 56%. This thing right here is a battery champ still at 4100 milliamp hour battery in here. Definitely a large size. However, do keep in mind, if you buy a used Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus, beware that battery might not be as good as what I'm stating because it's been used. So if you want to look for one of these, try to look for one that doesn't have much use so the battery will be in better condition. Okay guys, so a couple other things. Samsung phone's been crushing it here for a while in terms of the phone call quality, as well as the connectivity of the Bluetooth, the Wi-Fi, the 4G, the 5G now on the newer phones, as well as the S10 5G that had 5G. They've been doing this area very well. This phone had no issues, and 2 years later, I can still make calls and people can hear me just fine. So I don't have to report much more in that area of the phone. And some other connectivity things. Bluetooth 5 on here, Wi-Fi 6, Wi-Fi Direct. I mean, we have Wi-Fi Direct on a lot of Samsung phones, but just saying, you got all your connectivity things you would want for this phone. And of course, I forgot to mention we have the dark mode, which could be scheduled out. I mean, we could go on and on. This video could turn into an hour long if we covered every single thing about the S10 Plus. 2 years later, if you wanted to know, is this thing worth it in 2021? The answer is undoubtedly yes, if you could find it on a deal and you're okay with the fact that this has a 60 hertz display and doesn't have 5G. If you want the 5G, look for the S10 5G. It's a little bit more, but you can find it. It's a similar phone with a bigger screen at 6.7 inches, similar to the newer, bigger Samsung devices, and gives you 5G. Now, if you're worried about updates, this one probably will get one more major update. Processor is definitely flagship and should be fast enough for at least 2 to 3 more years of usage. So thumbs up here. Samsung knocked the S10 series out of the park. I was ecstatic about it when it came out, and in 2021, when I picked this phone up, I'm still ecstatic about how great this device was. So I love the S21 Plus, and I think you will too if you're in the market for something older. Thumbs up if you found this helpful, and let me know if you've experienced the S10 phone. Drop it down below. Help people out. Let them know what it's about and if it's still worth it. And subscribe for more. I will be having the S21 coming next week, so stay tuned for that. I'll catch you all in the next episode. Thank you very much for watching. Nick here, and peace.